I specialized in social psychology, and most of my work is focused on interpersonal relationships and different dynamics within romantic relationships, namely commitment, satisfaction.
I'm curious from that perspective, what benefit do you think that camming or platforms like LiveJasmin, what are they really providing to the members? Because this is the debate right now. Some people think it's just the sexuality. Other people are able to see that there's something deeper that the members are being fulfilled by and getting. I'm curious, what is your perspective on what the members are maybe truly there for or truly benefiting from?
Actually, I think it's both. For some people, it's the sexuality of it, meeting new people, having an easier time meeting people and satisfying sexual needs, which is okay and perfectly fine because that's consented. But for others, there's also the other part of the affection that for some reason they are not having in their real lives. And in these cases, I think the platform can allow people to receive social support and the acceptance they need to feel better about themselves. Research is telling us over and over again the importance of social support, not only to the individual functioning, to the way people function in their daily lives, but also to their physical health. If I'm supported, if I feel supported by others, be it my friends or someone with whom I talk to over the internet in a camming website, I will feel better. I will be able to express my worries. I will be able to talk about my problems, and eventually I will be able to work out my problems and solve some of my my difficulties in my daily life. So I think these platforms have a huge importance for people who want to establish intimate connections, and either they don't want to, as you said, they went through a nasty divorce and don't want to connect, or want to connect with others, but they don't want that to have the risk of having that muddy thing around the affection or trying to connect with someone face to face. Others simply don't have are simply unable to meet because they cannot get out of the house, or they are afraid of going out, or they are less extroverted and they have more difficulty in knowing people, don't want to go on dating platforms. There's a multitude of reasons why people have a harder time meeting others, and this is a way for them to connect, and this is a way for them to meet new people, to have a functioning social life. And I think this is one of the huge benefits of this type of platforms.
I think that is like such a powerful term, functioning social life. Like I love that term, actually. I want to start using that, because you're right. Like,
feel free.
Are our social lives all functioning? Are they?
No.
Exactly.
No.
You may have a social life, but is it really functional for you?
Exactly. Yeah. Not most of the times, but sometimes it is not. Sometimes we think it is, and it actually is not, because it's not helping us to achieve the needs that we want to suppress. It's like a fantasy, our ideal selves that is driving this social life, but it's not necessarily what we need to move forward with our lives and to solve some of our emotional baggage. So not all social lives are functioning from my perspective, at least.
And that is the goal, to get them functioning. And so I love how you said, some people, where whatever their life situation is, they are able to develop a functional social life through LiveJasmin. And
Yes.
that's what we have also found to be true.
Sexual education based on knowledge, scientific knowledge, and based on pleasure or learning about pleasure is much more efficient in the relationships established with other people, in sexual health. There's a different, there's a myriad of benefits of having a more inclusive and holistic sexual education, not acknowledging, not embracing our sexuality, and not taking advantage of sexuality to our lives and to our well-being. It's a huge missing opportunity, let's say. If we get to the point where sexuality is perceived as a natural thing, as something that can help improve yourself and your well-being, we will be better off in our lives, for sure. This thing we have in social psychology called the halo effect, by which if someone perceived a negative characteristic of a person within a group, all of the group and all of the people that could be part of that group will be perceived in exactly the same way. So people are basically perceiving this entire category of people who are in this platform, or sex workers, or any professional working remotely with a sex-related or an intimate-related area as a sex worker, and they can't differentiate the nuances between all of the work that's being done by different people. And we can only make this differentiation by educating people. I think also one of the benefits is when people have sexual curiosities or sexual preferences that are not necessarily the norm, namely BDSM or any other sexual fantasy, that is not necessarily easy to enact this fantasy. It's not necessarily easy to enact these fantasies with partners, or to ask or to open a conversation about these fantasies. And sex work can be a way to release this tension or to fulfill these fantasies without having the pressure of asking one's partner to be a dominatrix or to be whatever, and having an unresponsive partner. And eventually facing rejection, and being afraid of losing the relationship altogether. So in the meantime of knowing how to approach the issue with a partner, or asking the partner if they want to be included in these activities, sex work can have a huge benefit for the individual.
Oh my goodness, yes. I think too, I've actually heard directly from members on LiveJasmin that they were able to explore a fantasy that they've always wanted to, but they were very scared to talk about, or it hadn't gone over well in the past in relationships. And they were finally able to explore it with a model and they learned more about themselves. They were like, oh, I realized that I actually don't like that, but
Exactly.
they needed to get it out and they needed to
Yeah.
learn about themselves. And I've actually heard from the models as well that having that experience with a member helped them learn about themselves, because then now they're given an opportunity to figure out, do I like this? Oh, I do. I like it. Or no, I don't, I won't ever do that again. Or, like they learn so much about themselves.
Yes. So sexuality is a learning experience, of course, consented, but always a learning experience. And that's the beauty of sexuality and sexual exploration. You can learn about yourself, you can learn about the other person, you are helping the other person learn about themselves. So it's always a win-win, if consented, of course.
I love that you have certain, sayings that have come out through this interview that I just love, that sexuality is always a learning experience. I think if we look at it, that's so true, like that's really true. It really is always a learning experience. You always learn so much about yourself or
Exactly.
your partner or just people in general,
Yes,
our desire for intimacy or our fear of intimacy.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, totally, totally true.
I this is like, I love this conversation. Seriously. I
I
really
love it too.
love how it turned out as far as like really diving into this topic of sex work, because it is true that, for some reason we just don't like to go there, like,
Yes,
as a
we're
culture.
afraid of it.
Hmm.
You know, we're afraid of it, but we need to go there. We need to.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Like I actually now I want to either conduct a study myself or have someone conduct a study. I want to see who is benefiting the most from sex work. I'm sure all of us are as a culture, because like we talked about, we might have some high position people that need that to relax and get the edge off of them and keep them functional. But I'm curious, like, how many marriages is it really saving? And who's really benefiting from it? And yeah.
I think that could be an amazing study, especially if you were able to interview sex workers, their perspective about these topics, um, and contrast with the perspectives of people who go and have sex with sex workers. So contrasting these two perspectives, I think would we would gain so many insights on the benefits and the consequences of sex work.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I'm actually really curious now, and also, if you think about it, I've looked at some of the science before, and she's a really well-known relationship counselor. She's like 95. And she's still at it. She's still working, and she's been working for like 50, 60 years. And she said, if we look at a normal sexual encounter, maybe two people who have been seeing each other for 2 months and they have sex, but one of them doesn't really know where they stand. One of them
Yeah,
may think that sex means more than what it actually does, or,
exactly.
it's
There's
not.
always these expectations
Yeah.
and unspoken things that we cannot control. Whereas in sex work, is there's no expectations. You
Mm,
know what you're going for and what to expect. You don't have expectations other than having sex. I'm always happy um, when I'm able to get the message across and to get to talk about different topics. And I I really love talking about this stuff, and I really like to do these kinds of interviews because it allows me to think over and above the work that I'm doing academically and translating somehow the work and my knowledge into the real life. And I think that's really, really cool. And thank you for the invitation once again.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and for this incredible conversation. I think both of us have we have some things to think about after this
Yes,
conversation because it was so
exactly.
interesting. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm not even a researcher, but I might turn into one.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was really, really wonderful and
Yes.
really fun.